criticism for a number of reasons, and we just wanted to make an addendum video in order to iron out some of the issues. We incorrectly stated that Jared Atadiro's father was present at the time of his disappearance. Of course, this was not intentional on our part, and it's a mistake we are now kicking ourselves over. We always strive to conduct thorough research in the stories we present, but given the nature of some of these cases, we get a lot of our information from online sources, which have no doubt been embellished and/or diluted over the passage of time. And when we're up against it with a looming deadline, sometimes it's just not possible to fact check as much as we would hope to, so mistakes will inevitably slip through. Pitiful excuses aside, this mistake was unacceptable, and we personally feel we have not only failed you guys, but Jared's memory. We fully accept the criticism, it was fair, and we will take it on the chin and learn from it. A couple of us on the team are fathers ourselves, and we couldn't even begin to imagine the unbelievable pain Alan Atadiro and indeed the rest of his family went through. It's heartbreaking, and they deserve better than our poor showing here. We are truly sorry for the mistake, and in future when covering instances of this nature, we will make sure to double and triple check the facts of the case, looming deadline or not. Another piece of feedback we received was regarding our statement that David Paulides omits certain pieces of key information from the cases he presents, and some of you asked us to elaborate on this point. Just to make our position absolutely clear, it is not in our interests to criticise David Paulides or to diminish his work. After all, it's because of him that there is now a brighter spotlight on these disappearances, and we commend his efforts in working towards building a database of such cases. We simply stated that he has a tendency to omit certain details from many of the cases he presents. Whether this is due to not having all of the information to hand, or a deliberate attempt to make some of these cases seem more mysterious than they really are, we cannot say one way or the other and do not wish to slander or conversely overly praise him. We understand that our comments here may anger some of you, but please do not see this as an attack on him. We are simply defending our position that he omits or misses details which might otherwise offer an explanation in a lot of cases. We are not attempting to disparage him, we are only trying to offer a balanced view. We will cite a few examples as follows. Paulides has talked many times about the case of Stephanie Stewart, a fire spotter who worked in Jasper National Park in Canada. In 2006, Stephanie went missing from her cabin in the middle of the night, leaving a pan of boiling water on the stove. When Paulides presented this case on Coast to Coast with George Knapp, he stated that only a single blanket and watch were missing from her possessions, and more explicitly, that there was no sign of forced entry or foul play. The fire watchtower is 3 miles from the nearest road, and right in the middle of a wooded area, so where did Stephanie go? On the surface, the case seems rather bizarre. At least enough ambiguity is left hanging in the air, which allows us to jump to all kinds of conclusions, especially those of a paranormal kind. It has all the hallmarks of a possible alien abduction. However, all of the reports on the case mention that in fact 2 blankets and 2 pillows were missing, and that there was a sizable smear of blood on the stairs leading up to the cabin. Inside, there were further signs of a struggle, and people close to the case have even mentioned that there was another set of tyre tracks, along with those from Stephanie's own pickup on the mud road leading up to the tower, although this last point is unconfirmed. There was no forced entry because Stephanie used to leave her doors unlocked. Suddenly, this case seems much less mysterious, at least from a missing 411 perspective, which would usually discount any instance with obvious signs of foul play. Police believe Stephanie was murdered, wrapped in the blankets, and then taken out into the woods and buried. The killer took her gold watch either as part of a robbery or as a trophy. Now again, we must stress that we're not saying Paulides intentionally left these details out, but they were missing from his retelling of the case nonetheless. The second example refers to Miles Robinson, a British national who disappeared from a Swiss ski resort in 2009. This was another case which Paulides presented on Coast to Coast, and he was keen to highlight its apparent high strangeness. The ski resort, Wengen, is located in the Swiss Alps, and Miles had been staying there with his family for a short break over the Christmas period. On the 22nd of December at around 2:20 AM, he left the Blue Monkey Club in the centre of the town, and was last seen chatting to a female friend outside her hotel. It was the last time anyone saw him alive. His battered and broken body was found a week later in Lauterbrunnen, which, as the crow flies, is about a mile away from Wengen, but a much longer trek over ground. Paulides stressed just how strange this was, because Wengen is on an elevated plateau compared to Lauterbrunnen. and in the depths of winter there is only one access route between the two towns, a rail service which stops running after 11 PM. To attempt this journey on foot, at night and at that time of year, would be unthinkable. So how did Miles Robinson's body get down to Lauterbrunnen? Even if someone had moved his body in the intervening time, the combined populations of both towns were very active in searching for him. Nobody would have risked such a careless act with the town on high alert. Polides makes a big deal of this, and again on the surface it seems extremely weird. It's almost like Robinson was picked up, floated through mid-air and was then dropped somewhere over Lauterbrunnen. He stresses a number of times that there was no way his body could have been moved between the 2 points. Now, Robinson's last known position, traced by sniffer dogs and confirmed by the last known use of his mobile phone, was at the Mönchblick lookout 20 minutes outside the village. To his credit, Polides does provide this information, but what he fails to communicate is where in Lauterbrunnen Miles Robinson's body was found. It was found here, and if we take a quick look on Street View at both this location and the lookout itself, it's not hard to piece together what might have happened on these steep slopes, especially in the snow. Why Polides thought this was mysterious is beyond us. There could be any number of reasons why Miles travelled to the lookout at that time in the morning, and that in itself is kinda strange. But how his body ended up in Lauterbrunnen certainly isn't, bearing in mind that this whole area is also classed as Lauterbrunnen. Proponents of Polides' work state just how exemplary his research is, and that he makes a concerted effort to dismiss cases that have rational explanations. So why did he include this in his Missing 411 catalogue, specifically questioning the movement of Robinson's body, when you can work out in 10 minutes, using the publicly available information and Google Maps, that Miles more than likely fell or perhaps even jumped to his death? It seems his research in this instance was about as exemplary as ours was in the case of Jared Atadero. Again, we're not saying that this was intentional on David Polides' part, but the fact is that details were omitted, which is of course why we made the statement we did. And these are just two of many examples we came across when looking for cases to include in our videos. Out of 40 potentials gleaned from Polides' own books and presentations, we dropped 28 because when we looked at the publicly available information on them, we found details which Polides had not included in his retellings. As it turned out, they all seem to be cases of death by misadventure, foul play or animal attack, even though he asserts that he filters these cases out. In the end, we don't want to be overly critical of his work, because there are some genuinely